Today is 27th November. I'm remembering 27th November 1982. It was, if I'm not wrong, it was on a Saturday. It is a day that for so long as not only I'm alive, but so long as I'm sane, it will prove to be one of my top 10 happiest days. In fact, it would be top 5 of my happiest days. I cannot start indicating which is which. I cannot indicate which is which because they change at times. And hopefully, God being in heaven and the government having admitted doing wrong for me, I hope one day they do the correct thing. Vice President Mudi Awori cannot be wrong. The Ministry of Justice cannot be wrong. The TJRC cannot be wrong. The government has acknowledged that they sacked me wrongly, and they only need the National Police Service to just to sit 30 minutes and they do the needful. That is, overrule the injustice that was done to me. Maybe if that thing does not happen posthumously, I will not even say maybe, definitely it will be one, it will overtake them and be one of the top five happiest days. The other happiest day, which definitely will be among the top 5, is the day that I was appointed an inspector of police. Waking up as a police constable, then going to sleep as a member of the inspectorate. But today, I'm remembering one of the greatest days when waking up in the morning, I was a civilian. Going to sleep, I was a police officer. That was November 27th, 1982. Allow me, when you talk about something, there is always the problem of boundaries. How much far behind would you go, and how much far would you go ahead? But allow me that even though today I'm only talking about, 27th November 1982, the day I woke up as a civilian and the day I went to sleep as a police officer, allow me to add 2 days on each side. That is, instead of making it a 1-day affair, let it be a 5 days affair. Starting on 25th November 1982 and completing on 29th November 1982. It was on November 25th, 1982, evening around supper time, that we were meeting, 3 of us. The late Mzee Zakayo Shivona Nakuku, his son Samson Wekesa Shivona, and me, around supper time in the evening at Mudhurwa, block number 4, F6, door 18. If you check just within November, I think I was there and I recorded that place. Although there is a lot of changes, but the letter F6 you can still see it. We had a meeting. When we were having that meeting, the first thing we did was to counter check. Nowadays they call them joining instructions. But during our time, after we were recruited, we were told and we wrote on a piece of paper what was required of us in Kiganjo. We were told we required a letter, either two of the three people, your former employer, the head of the school that you went, and your chief, your locational chief. Now you could choose any of the two. I'd never been employed. So it was mandatory that I had to get the chief's letter and the head teacher's letter. So we checked, it was there. We checked the national ID, it was there. We checked the school certificates, they were there. Originals, there was no photocopy there. We checked everything, it was okay. Then there were those things that were required to go to Kiganjo with. A pair of civilian clothes, because there, you'll go there in civilian, but you'll be very lucky if you'll ever wear that civilian again. But you see, you'll have to go wear dressed in clothes. You also had to carry some things such as extra shoes. You had to carry a stove, such things. And we were even told some things that a plate and a cup. We were never told which size of a cup. So I bought a very small one, but that is a story of another day. So those things, we counter-checked them either 3 to 5 times. And when they were there ready, we were sure those things were ready. Then Mzee, now deceased, Zakayo Chesoni, not just Zakayo Chesoni, Zakayo Shivona Nakuku, coincidentally they come from the same village. Zakayo Shivona Nakuku then turned to his son, told his son, Samson Wekesa Shivona, that Owasio, it is not your cousin, it is not your friend, it is not anything. The nearest description of Owasio into Swahili is mwenzio. The nearest translation of Owasio in Lingala is moninga, mwenzako or moninga. That is what he told him. Mwenzako is somebody who sleeps a lot, and make sure he does not oversleep. If he oversleeps, then it is on your head. That is what he told his son. And he was right that usually, even right now in my mid-60s, I'm never in a hurry to wake up in the morning. Especially if I have nothing pressing that is pressing me. The old man used to report on duty. I'll not go into details because it is not about him. But he used to leave for duty at 5 from Mudhurwa to railway station. Then he would come back for breakfast at 9. When he is coming for breakfast at 9, that is when I am waking up. In Mudhurwa, if you go there, they still have for every 4 houses, for every 4 cubicles, there is a cubicle there that boys used to use them as a joint bedroom for the 4 houses. So whenever he would be coming from his place of work, he would find me, I'm waking up from that place at around 9 approximately. But he never talked. So he formed an opinion because he used to be told that Kiganjo, hakuna kulala. But he was playing his part. His was just to make sure that I go to Kiganjo if if I'm unable to complete the course because of oversleeping. That is beyond him. And he had one very good advantage. You know, even if you are sure that somebody is disabled or incapable, don't tell that person. You are killing his spirit. So even though he had doubts on me, he kept it to himself and only told me several decades later. That is Mzee Zakayo Shibona Nakuku. He asked me what time, he asked me what time we were required to be there. I told him that we were required to be there at 4. We were required to be there at 5. I told him we were required to be there at 5, but they had said that for somebody who is looking for a job, he has to report there an hour earlier. So we are required to be there by 4 because at 5 the vehicle will leave for Kiganjo. And if it goes without you, that is up to you. Now we were talking on 25th evening. So I told him I was required there at 4, but the vehicle would leave at 5. But in reality, we had been told that we were required there at 6. And for people who are looking for employment, we should be there by 5. And we were told that anybody who reports there at a minute past 6, then he should expect. I'm saying he should expect because we were only boys. No girl was ever employed in Nairobi. So we were told that whoever reports at Nairobi campus of Kiganjo, that is at Mathare, a minute past 6, he should blame himself for not being recruited into the police service. That is what we were told. So it reached, he told me that since I'm supposed to be there by 4, that since I'm supposed to be in Mathare campus of Kiganjo at 4, he told me that I should wake him. We agreed that waking up time should be at 3. 3 a.m. is when we were supposed to wake up. But he kept on telling his son that, you know, this fellow, and you know, in Luhya, when somebody calls you Matolo, I know Matolo is a Kampo word, but in Luhya, when somebody calls you Matolo, he's mocking you or she's mocking you, meaning that wewe ni kulala tu. So young men, when somebody visits you and she tells her friends that wewe ni Matolo, I hope you understand. I'm not going to detail in what I mean by Matolo. Sleepy Joe. Yeah, I remember there was a time when Trump used to call Joe Biden Sleepy Joe. So that is what he told his son. And after supper, I went to the boys' common bedroom. I slept there. I can assure you that that day, I never slept even a wink. I did not sleep even a second. This is what happened on that day. That night, I had a watch, Seiko 5. And the Seiko 5, you could see it even in the darkness. Seiko 5 was a watch which you would tell right in the darkness, somebody would ask you what time it is, and it would laminate. It had 11 dots which would laminate at night. The 12th one was the 3, 3 o'clock, where there was the date and the month, the date of today's date and today's month. Like it could say, like that day it would say 26th November. Yeah, it would just say, no, it used to say Tuesday, 26th November. Yeah, Tuesday, 26th November. Just that. So I covered myself in the blanket, looked at the watch throughout, non-stop. And you see that watch, there is the 11 dots that I said. Then there were the two sticks. There was the two sticks, the hour stick and the minute stick. So I knew each and every minute. The second stick, I only knew it 2 seconds per minute. Because when it bypassed either of the two sticks, it would make that stick disappear for a second. So I just looked at that until, you see, Mzee Zakayo, Shivona na Kuku had told us that we should wake up at 3 a.m. At 2:45 a.m., I left the boys' common bedroom, and went to knock at his door. Block number F6, door 16. I knocked at his door. When he heard me knocking, he thought it was his son. Said, Wekesa? I said, no, it is not Wekesa. Who is it? I said, it is JI-TENGE. Then he had a watch which you could not see unless you lit a lamp. So he asked me, what time is it? No, first of all, he asked me, where is Wekesa? I said, he's still sleeping. And he asked me, what time is it? I told him, it is 2:45. Saa tisa kasorobo. Said, go and sleep for the 15 minutes and then come back with Wekesa. I went there. If I could not sleep for 6 hours, do you want to tell me I can sleep for 15 minutes? At exactly 3 a.m., me and Wekesa woke him up. Then he prayed for me that I go, reach the college, whatever I aspired in life I should get. And then he placed in his pocket and gave us some money. Said, if he tried to cook tea, to prepare tea, we could waste time. So he told us to go to OTC. OTC, there was a hotel that was facing Ronald Ngala Street. And that hotel it was just an ordinary hotel. I've never seen any hotel before or even after. Do we have, apart from hotels that are placed along the journey, where like Nakuru, it's strategically placed for night travelers, that one was strictly a 24-hour hotel. Although we had a bus company called OTC which was next to it, but we didn't have a situation where OTC had night visitors around that place. So he told us to go there, take tea from there, then board a bus to Juja Road, so that we can reach that place in time. I boarded a bus around somewhere near Wakulima. We have two supermarkets, Marikiti, yeah. Sorry, not Wakulima, but Marikiti supermarket at the roundabout. We took a bus, alighted at Juja Road. There was a walking place, a footpath, a big footpath going from Juja Road to Mathare Police Depot or Mathare Police Campus of Kiganjo. We alighted there, went through. Thinking about it several decades later, over 40 years, I think 42 years later, even by security standard of those days, it was risky alighting from a bus around that time with a box. But probably it was because that was the route that was usually used by police officers, or even it was my day, because even thinking about it today, we could be mugged and the box would have been taken. But we went and arrived at the Madare police training camp, police training center. On arrival, the room that we were told that we were to congregate at, I found two police officers there sleeping on the desk. When they saw me, they were shocked. You know what? It was exactly 4 a.m. And here I was with Samson Wekesa Shivona and the two police officers. I said, but you were told to come at 6. Now you're coming at 4. I said, okay, I've arrived. Then they told me to check a good desk and sleep. Well, I tried to. 3 people slept. One did not sleep. Let me not tell you who that person is. The second recruit to arrive, the second potential recruit to arrive, arrived at 5:30. Arrived at 5:30. Then most of them, we were 13, but we reported 12. We were 12 who reported. Anthony Kipkoech did not come. Now, if I can remember such a name after 42 years, Anthony Kipkoech did not come, but the 12 of us came. The 12 of us came. As I said, there is an advantage in a photographic mind, but photographic mind, some names come up, some don't come up. So I don't remember everything, but whatever I remember, I usually remember in great details, even to a comma. That one I only give praises to Sir Jah. Then we stayed. It reached 8 a.m. that these two police officers told first Samson Wekesa Shivona and told him that now that your cousin has arrived safely and whatever, you can go back. So he went back and he told, he went back. His father was still at a place of work, so they didn't meet. They met at 5 in the evening. The father left work. Those days, people used to leave work at 4:30. So the father came up at 4:30, but I'll reach there. So we stayed there. Imagine some people even are reporting at 7:30, and we were told that anybody who reports at 6, a minute past 6, and he doesn't make it to Kiganjo, he should blame himself. That is what we call Masaa ya Afrika. That is what we call Masaa ya Mwafrika. So we stayed there up to around 11 a.m. That is when some bosses came and told us, now that is 26th. They came and told us that they don't know who came up with that idea that we should come on 26th, but the proper day of our coming there should have been 27th. And then they said, since you have carried a lot of your luggage here, we were only allowed to carry the A4 envelope with all our documentation, certificates, plus ID, and so on. So we were told, you can go with us, but tomorrow, come back at 6. Same time. Same time is what? 6. Among us, there was a Luo young man who had been brought in by Mr. Michael Arum. Michael Arum was the second, during the time when Michael Arum was a police boss, he was the only person junior to the Commissioner of Police. The Commissioner of Police, then below him was Michael Arum. Then below Michael Arum is when you could find the head of GSU, the head of CID, the head of everything you wanted. So Michael Arum had nobody of his rank, and he had only one boss. But during the recruitment, he was very humble. And it's only people who could say, that is Michael Arum, and whatever. but he never interfered with anything. And the only way you could know is that he was standing aside, and he had a blazer which had utumishi kwa wote badge on it. Otherwise, Mike Arum behaved, and even that boy of his during our time in Kiganjo and GSU, he never acted as if he was related to a senior man. It is only there was a Mukamba who was recruited in Nairobi, who was related to a senior superintendent called Mrs. Mwangangi, and me. You could think that we are sisi ni watoto wakubwa, but the boss of the bosses, he never showed it, and even his kid, whatever kid he brought, he never showed. Why have I mentioned the Michael Room's boy? Michael Room boy was clean shaved, clean shaved. He was clean shaved the way, for those of you who watch primetime news and KBC Channel 1, he was as clean shaved as Tomboya. Tomboya, the one who presents that program, 9 p.m. And now we were being told that on 26th that recruits are supposed to be shaved like him. And recruits were shaved twice or thrice a week. So when we looked at that, we were told that it was wrong, that we were given the wrong day, 26th instead of 27th. So around 3 p.m. we were told, you go and come back the following day. So I went to Mudhurwa police. Mudhurwa, there are two polices. There used to be two polices. There was the Mudhurwa police post and Mudhurwa railway police. So I went to Mudhurwa railway police. I went for shaving, and I just told the shaver, shave kipolisi, just the way I'm looking now. That is how I was shaved. But you know, in Kiganjo, when if you are a recruit and you have hair like what I have, that is, they treat it as if you have afro. They treat it as if you have afro. So around 5:30 p.m., I arrived at Mzee Shivona's house, Mudhurwa, block F6, door 16. You see, it is a 10 by 10 cubicle, and I appeared on the door. People looked at me as if they have seen a dead person resurrected. At the time when they expected me to have arrived in Kiganjo, there I was with an A4 envelope. When the things came back to normal, they asked me what had happened, and I told them what had happened. I told them that we had been given the wrong date. Instead of being told 27th, we have been told 26th. So I just carried this, and tomorrow I have to. And already, of course, Shivona had heard from his son, Samson Wekesa, about the timing, and that is when he turned to me and said, I know you'll make it in Kiganjo. You really like that job. And my viewer, let me tell you, I love the police work. I really love the police work. When I die, if the then Inspector General would give me that honor of giving me a police send, the law allows the Inspector General at his own convenience to decide that I be given a full military honor. I hope the then Inspector General would give, or even the Deputy Inspector General. If one of them or both of them gives me that honor, I'll be very grateful. I'll be smiling in the clouds. So that is the time he told me, I really now know that you love that job. If you who love sleeping woke up very early because of going to Kiganjo, I have no doubt. Then the following day, now that the secret was out that I was needed there at 6, he said that we should wake up at 5. We woke up at 5. In fact, even without telling us to go to take tea in a hotel, he himself prepared tea and prayed for us, for me. Then I went. Upon arrival, but Wekesa was Wekesa was given a new instruction. You know, we are Luhyas, and Luhyas are very suspicious people. Very superstitious, not suspicious, superstitious. So he was told, go with him. This time, even if the vehicle leaves at 5 p.m., there are two things. When you are coming back, either come back telling us that you have seen him enter a vehicle to Kiganjo, or come back with him. This thing about him appearing, we will have a heart attack. So that was the instruction he was given. We went there. The other day, the previous day, people knew that even if you come at 7, nothing will happen. So some people even came at 9. We stayed there. At around 2 p.m. or 3 p.m. It was around 3 p.m. that the lorry came. It is around 3 p.m. that the lorry came. When the lorry came, it had 2 sergeants. I'll tell you about that. That is when Samson Wekesa left. He did not even just he did not just leave. He assisted me carrying my box on top of the lorry. And then that is when he stood there until the lorry left beyond Madare Hospital. That is when he went back. That was around 3 p.m. But we didn't go straight to Kiganjo. We went to, Mr. Washira, Duncan Washira, who later became the police boss. We went to his Nairobi residence, carried a lot of things on the lorry, then left for Kiganjo. When we left for Kiganjo, we reached Karatina. Instead of using the main road, we took a side road, and there was emotions on my side when I saw us passing by Kiaridhaine Secondary School. Emotions was to me at Kiaridhaine Secondary School because emotions were because the sister whom I follow, I'm my mother's second born. The sister whom I follow, Lydia Nyakenywa Wamoyo, studied in that school. Imagine seeing your sister's school while you are in the police lorry. We passed Kiaridhaine, so I knew where I was. And then we took another rough road. There is a rough road that goes from Karatina all the way to Gandu, the famous Bishop Gatimu Gandu Girls. So we passed, we went somewhere, stopped there, kumbe ndio kwa kina Washira. We went and offloaded those things. As we offloaded, it was a rough road. I didn't know where we were. Suddenly, I saw a signpost indicating Gandu Girls, and then I knew where. Those days it was not called Bishop Gatimu; it was just called Gandu Girls High School. So I knew where I was, and suddenly we were on the main road going towards Tumutumu. We bypassed my grandfather's homestead, and I could see the homestead, but I could not see anybody. Now, in that split second, you could not tell your colleagues this is my grandparents' place, and there was nobody in the home whom you could shout and say, Kadege ndio huyu anapita. It was so fast and it was so emotional. So we went all the way. Upon some distance, I saw a signpost which was written, Kenya Police College, Junior Staff Mess. So I just knew, bwana, we have reached Kiganjo. And then suddenly, we entered the main gate. I said that we were having 2 sergeants. One sergeant was a driver. And the work of a driver is to carry luggages. And when I talk of luggages, it includes human beings. Carry luggages from point A to point B, then bring back the vehicle, and then make a report on how you went. There was another sergeant who was the escort commander. His duty was to take recruits from Nairobi to Kiganjo. I had not said that when we were being taken, we were mixed. There's a vehicle that came from Kiambu. So recruits who are going to Kiganjo were brought to Madare. And the recruits who were employed, now those recruits, Recruits who are recruited in Kiambu were two. There is the team that was going to Kiganjo, and there was the team that was going to GSU training school. Same applies to those who are employed in Nairobi, Mathare. There's a team that was going to Kiganjo, and there was a team that was going to GSU Embakasi. So the vehicle that came from Kiambu took our recruits who are going to the GSU training school, and we took their recruits who are going to Kiganjo. So when we reached in Kiganjo, we were recruits from Kiambu and recruits from Nairobi. And those who went to GSU are recruits from Kiambu and Nairobi. Now, the vehicle that came from Kiambu ended up in GSU training school, and the vehicle that left Nairobi went to Kiganjo. The vehicle escort is the one who is in charge. He's in charge of everything, even if he's of a junior rank to the driver, but he's the one to control, to say everything that was to happen. So we went and entered the main gate in Kiganjo. When we entered the main gate in Kiganjo, there was a corporal. He was called Corporal Mara. He was called Corporal Mara. He opened the gate. When he opened the gate, military instructions are that you, first of all, before you open the gate, you check everything under the vehicle, everywhere, whatever, before you open. But it being Kiganjo and being a police college, and Corporal Mara being a teacher or an instructor, just opened it without checking who were behind. So when he opened, the vehicle entered, went up to 5 or 10 meters, stopped. And as Corporal Mara was closing the door, actually, he was not even supposed to open and close the door. There was supposed to be, he was the guard commander. So he was to use one of the guardmen to do that, but he just did it anyway. Some jobs are very boring. Sometimes when you do other jobs, you do that to pass time. So as he was closing the door and looking at the lorry, he saw us there. Then he went to the sergeant. You see, in Kiganjo, recruits are like prisoners, or during those days, they were like prisoners. But today, I don't know. So an instructor could beat up, yeah, he could mug a constable, but if he mugged a coastman, things would be hot. That is when they used to say kurutu ni mnyama, sio binadamu. So he went and just for him not to confuse between coastmen and recruits, he went to the sergeant who was the escort commander and asked him, Afande, hawa ni makurutu? He said yes. Hey. When he had recruits, it was like your worst enemy has entered your compound without you knowing, and then that is when you have known the alarm, the haste, the everything. We were told, okay, let me talk it slowly, but it was talked in milliseconds. Mnafanya nini huko juu? Mungekuwa mmeshuka, mungekuwa mmepanga line, mmefanya nini? By the time he completed that, tulikuwa tumeshuka and we had already lined at the window. Then he remembered something. Mnaachia nani masanduku huko juu? Mungekuwa mmebeba the boxes which we were carrying. Let's say me and Samson Wekesa. It was now very light that I carried alone and we were there. Then we found some people. There were around 4. One of them was Julius Ndegwa. Julius Ndegwa rose up to be the director of operations, Nairobi area. He also rose up to be the director of operations, Kenya Police nationwide. So Julius Ndegwa was among them. They were dressed in pink shorts, no, purple short and pink top. Purple short and pink top. I remembered when I used to visit people in Langata, we used to see people wearing the same uniform, bottom pink, the bottom purple, top pink. And we were told those were recruits who were on practicals. So when these people were harassing us, I whispered to the other people, how ni recruit, thinking that they were senior recruits. Unknown to me at that particular time, these were people who are now attending other courses, serving officers being in Kiganjo, attending junior training wing courses below the rank of inspector were called cosmen. So these were cosmen. So we were lined up and they were harassing us. Mumeandikiwa wapi? And you see, the Kiambu people did not even say they were recruited in Kiambu, although they could also have been fewer because we were 12. We were supposed to be 13, and Kiambu 5 people came. I have to say that during that time, Moi's time, efforts were made. The Kikuyus, the recruitment of Kikuyus was suppressed. So Kiambu, we were 12 and Kiambu around 6, so we were about 18. And when they said, Muliandikiwa wapi? We were all saying, Madaresa. It seemed to annoy them. We didn't know, but later we came to know that police when a police officer decides to be a bully, he can be a bully. So they were bullying us. Muliandikiwa Madare. Oh! Then one turns to the other one. Julius Ndegwa. Now, that is the advantage of having a photographic mind, isn't it? We turned, Julius Ndegwa. Hawa ni wazimu. Walikuwa wameenda Mathare wakapata watu wanapanga line. Walikuwa nafikiri ni ile kupanga hospitali wanapanga wachukue zile dawa zao. Kumbe ni recruitment ya polisi wamepanga line. Hawa ni wazimu. Wazimu. Mathare kule kwa Chang'aa. Now, mtu yote ako na Chang'aa, beba left hand up. Na mtu yote ako na bangi, beba right hand up. Na ukiwa na both bangi na Chang'aa, beba mikono yote juu. I was wondering to myself now, supposing I was a bang or Chang'aa, would I come with it? Or hata kama nimebeba, would I carry up my hands? I was wondering. What I did not know is that it was harassment, bullying. It's a nature for anybody in a disciplined forces. If he or she wants to be a bully, that comes automatically. You can see that within 5 minutes of reaching there, we were bullying. We were being monolized. But let me tell you, for those who attended the mono days, the mono in Kiganjo or other disciplined forces is far worse than mono in Form 1. CBC hawana mono, sio eh? So it is worse than mono in Form 1. So from there was this Mukamba. There were 2 Wakambas. Out of 12, there were 2 Wakambas. I told you one was employed by Mrs. Mwangangi, senior superintendent, and then there was another one who was a vegetarian. I remember him being a vegetarian because life in Kiganjo, we went with him also to GSU training school. Life in Kiganjo and in the GSU training school for a vegetarian is very hard because you have to get your special food. And it was even worse in GSU because for about 3 months, he spent it on what do you call mala milk and ugali. Mala milk, ugali, and undergoing that strenuous training. He was the first one to sign up at the main gate. They sign, you sign, what is your name? There is a letter, there is a small card we used to be given. It was called a docket number, D number. Mine was 56, if not 54. That docket number has 2 purposes. That is the only thing you can prove in Kiganjo that you are recruited. Another reason, another use of the docket number, it is the serial number that you are taken to Kiganjo, that is taken to CID headquarters to check whether you have any criminal past because your fingers had been taken. So my docket number either was 56 or 54, one of the 2. After they write that, they write your name, they check your school certificates, everything. Wanakupembeleza pole. And you see, the first person to be taken usually used to lead in a very funny way. So this Mukambo wakachukua kila kitu wakaeka, wakamwambia eka polepole, certificate yako vizuri iko kwa sanduku, ndio funga vizuri ne. Okay, eka sanduku kwa kichwa. Baada ya kuweka sanduku kwa kichwa, they started beating him. Told him, go to Kakamega barracks. The fellow took an circular anti-clockwise way up to the main gate. Then there was alarm all over. There was alarm all over. They thought that after beating him up, he had decided to terminate his police course of 6 months in 6 minutes. That is what they thought. The course that is supposed to last for 6 months, he was terminating it in 6 minutes. So they decided, sasa ni nini imetendeka? Tuelezee vizuri, pole pole, sijui nini nini. Then he told them, you have told me to go and board a vehicle to Kakamega town and look for a barracks like Langata barracks. That is where I'll be trained. They said, no, 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 no. In discipline forces, dormitories are called barracks. So when we are telling you to go to Kakamega barracks, we are telling all these dormitories have names: Garissa, Embu, Kakamega, Isiolo. Name them. So each dormitory has a name. So we are telling you to go to a dormitory called Kakamega. Then they took him in a very diplomatic way. Took him. We just saw from the gate, from the main gate, we saw a certain corridor where he disappeared from and went. I'm telling you that was around 3 p.m. That is around 3 p.m. We arrived at 3 p.m. No, around 3 p.m. is when we left Nairobi. Yeah. It was now around 5 p.m. It was around 5 p.m. So when he said that when he was taken there, the second person, you know that once your box is squarely on your head, you will start getting beaten. So the next person, that way, including me, we went. And wonder of wonder, the 10th wonder of the world, we went in that direction and ended up in Kakamega barracks or Kakamega dormitory. Reaching there, you are told to choose a bed. You have to choose a bed where to sleep. But looking at the beds, they were it is just like, what do you call, wire mesh from one end to another. So that when you sleep, you'd even touch the ground because those beds were in bad condition. So when you are trying to look for a better bed, you'd start to be beaten. You think these are ladies' chest that you are looking so that you look for smooth ones, such things. And in Kiganjo, during those days, I don't know whether it is still there, you could not spend an hour without unprintable being talked. The reason is you are so much used to unprintables, so that when you are armed with a gun and anybody talks to you in any unprintable way, you don't lose your cool and shoot the person. That is part of the training. So after there, we were taken to a store. We were taken to a store. Then we were told to get a ringer. Now, ringer in Kiganjo, a lot of Sheng there is a lot of Kikuyu there. Any police officer knows Kikuyu because of the language which is spoken there. I at that point in time, I did not know that a slasher in Kikuyu language is called ringer. So I was looking for a good slasher. That one, it was not a slasher. It had been so much used that it looked more or less like a sim. But when it came to the place of handle, the handle was already not out, and somebody had placed there a clothing. So I took that clothing. That clothing, the one with the largest clothing. Then we were shown a place where to cut grass. And where we were shown to cut grass, it was dark green. Kiganjo, it's a rainy place, it's a wet place. And recruits had not been recruited for over a year. Recruits, previously, before us and even after us, recruits used to be taken to Kiganjo after 3 months. Now we had completed over a year. So the grass had grown tall, and we were trying to cut that grass with that so-called ringer. Within minutes, our hands were swollen, our hands were emitting blood and water. Is it water? That liquid that is colorless. I presume it is water. So we were doing that, and we were and you could not even stand up. You are told to bend. You are told to bend, whatever. It continued that way, and those coursemen were very harsh. I think the life was like a Nazi concentration camp. So after they had done that, we suddenly had the bugle, the bugle, where having stayed in Garissa, where they used to play the bugle whenever they lowered whenever they lowered the flag. So I just told those recruits who are next to me that the flag stand at attention, the flag is being lowered. Most of them, that is the first time they were hearing of the bugle and wearing it. So we stood. After that, there is a funny song that went on, but which for those who have been in disciplined forces know the song as Chungulia Pipa. Was Chungulia Pipa, na Chungulia. We don't know even up to today what it used to say, but we used to sing along that. That was the first time I was hearing it, and there was no way I could know what it meant with Chungulia Pipa. So, but what I noticed was that the coursemen, the people whom I later, at that time I used to think they are old recruits, but I later learned that they were coursemen, left us without even talking to us. So prisoners without prison warders looking for you, looking after you, we stood up, and standing up was very hard, painful. Imagine we had arrived for over 1 hour, bending and trying to cut the grass and whatever. So they just left us without talking, just left us without talking, and we saw them coming back with funny looking plates. Of course, having stayed in Northeastern, I knew those plates were mess tins. So I just told those who were there, hizo ni masahani, unaona ziko funny. These people passed us without even talking to us, and we were just standing. They went. After 10 to 15 minutes, they were back. And then they started laughing at us. But you're still standing the way you left. You said, now what could you do? Why don't you go and eat? I said, we are going to eat here. Take your plates, go to the sea mess. In Kiganjo, there used to be 3 messes. For junior training wing, that is for any course that is below the rank of inspector, they used to go to C mess. Then B mess for members of the inspectorate, and MS was for gazetted officers, people who head police in the district. And even when the president goes to Kiganjo, he is accommodated at officers MS. So there we were. We were told to go to CMS. We didn't know where CMS was. Then we just looked at the direction they came. And the wonder of wonders, we ended up in a very big dining hall where we were being given food. I can tell you we were hungry, very hungry. Imagine I had taken tea at 5 a.m. Okay, on the way at a place called Ngwashe, Kiangwashe, yeah, Kiangwashe. There, if you pass that road, stop at Kiangwashe, and there are very good fruits there. At Kiangwashe, we had been given, they stopped the vehicle for us to buy fruit. Me, I didn't buy because I knew in college there was a lot of food, but others bought them. I just said, why should I eat and I'm going to have a big meal? As we were going, when they started eating those bananas, they found that bananas were very sweet. And of the 18 recruits, everybody gave me 2 bananas, and you can know how much. So those bananas that I had eaten at Kiangwashe is what was in my stomach. But the way we had been roughened up, we were so hungry. So we went back I mean, so we were given a lot of food, and we were given a lot of food. But as hungry as we were, nobody even ate a half. There was a there was a paper there, a tin, where leftover foods were being thrown, and an instructor looked at us. He said, "You're throwing out food. Within a week, you'll be coming back to eat. Not only finish what you have been given, but you'll come for the second helping." That is what we were told. And then we went back to the dormitories, Kakamega dormitory, but the proper terminology is Kakamega barrack. So we went back to the Kakamega barrack, just stayed there. We were looking at each other. That is 6:30, and the person you are looking at, apart from the people you are employed with in the same station, all others were strangers. And we were just, there is a bed there, there is your box there, there is no mattress, there is no blanket, there is nothing, and it is 6:30. Stayed, it reached around 7:30. Somebody came. "Recruits, what are you doing?" We said, what do you expect us to be doing? Uh, Before you continue, I want to say that I said that during our time, they used to recruit after every 3 months. So when we were halfway, another team came. So we showed them everything around. But since we didn't get any recruits, we didn't have anybody to show us around. That is why we were like walking in the darkness. Eh? You find yourself falling into a hole, a manhole or something. So somebody just came, and then in junior, you go to junior. We didn't even know that junior meant junior training wing. And as I've said, junior training wing for also people who are attending a course below the rank of inspector, below the course of inspectorate course. So that was junior training wing. Inspectorate course and above is senior training wing. Senior training wing. So we were told to go to junior. We said, but junior ni wapi? We were told just to go in that direction. We went somehow and found a classroom where everybody was given one mattress and two blankets. One mattress and two blankets. We went back, lost. You see, there are so many dormitories there, but you were just going around looking for Kakamega barrack. So I went back to Kakamega barrack and slept. You see, at the gate, when we were writing our documentation and whatever, officially that is when we became police officers. As we wrote at the gate, that is the point of reference for any police officer in any time, be it yesterday, tomorrow, or even forever. So that day I went to sleep. I woke up in Mudhurwa, Nairobi, along Landis Road as a civilian, and went to sleep as a police officer of the rank of recruit constable. That was Saturday. Sunday we woke up, we just knew, we went for the breakfast. Then after breakfast we were told, and then CPTI. Now what is CPTI? We didn't know where CPTI was or what it meant. Although later we knew that Kiganjo Stadium, there were several stadiums, there were 3 or 4, but the main one was called CPTI, the main one where people used to use for physical training or physical education. And that is where the head of physical education, PE, had his office. And his rank was Chief Physical Training Instructor. So that is why it was called CPTI. We went to CPTI, and in CPTI, there was a tractor which was cutting grass. There was a tractor which was cutting grass with the mowing tractor. So we were told just pick grass that you don't even see where you are going, and then you go in in the direction where there was fire. You would walk until you felt fire. That is when you knew you have reached the fire, and then place it there. Before that we met somebody who looked like Obelix. Now, if you don't know Obelix, you can Google that. We went found somebody who looked like Obelix, and we even saw him the previous day because he was shouting around and everybody was afraid of him. Uh, he was called Zulu Wakalundu, force number 9835, if I'm not wrong. Now, Zulu was standing on a dais and people were there. As we were there, there was a certain sergeant. This sergeant had a skin problem, albino, I think, but not really truly albino, but albino-like. So he was called Bolu, and people used to call him Sergeant Blue. So Mbolu went to we had two sergeant majors in Kiganjo. There was Wakalundu, the one I've said, and then there was another one called Arab Sulo. So Bolu went to Wakalundu and whispered to him, and they both looked at me. And when they were looking at me, Bolu had whispered that huyo ni kijana, that is Kwatenge's son. You see, people used to call my father Kwatenge, but Kwatenge is, or Hwatenge, yeah. Kwatenge is me, and Kwatenge was my grandfather. So at times I could be embarrassed when people ask me, "Are you Kwatenge's son?" You see, and Kiganjo is like a prison. You don't go to explain the long stories. So the fellow looked at me. He looked at me as if he hated me. He looked at me as if he wanted to beat me up. It's like he was deciding which part of place he would beat me up. Then he called me to the dais. I stood up to the dais and asked me when everybody was listening, "Wewe ni kijana ya Kwatenge?" I said, "Ndio sir." Told me, "Unaona pali Kwatenge amefika? Kwatenge alijikaza ndiye akafika pale amefika. Umesikia?" I said, "Yes sir." Then he told me, "Go back." Then I went, but everybody was wondering, who is this Kwatenge? Because these are recruits who are hardly 24 hours old in the police service. So the way people were looking at me suspiciously, I walked away. I walked away and went to the farthest end from the dais. There was a corporal there who was hiding himself. And he called me, "Kurutu." I said, "Afande, kuja, kuja, kuja." I went. He told me, "When kijana ya Kwatenge?" I said, "Yes, yes, sir." You see, I had been received well there, so I thought my father was very popular and very liked. So he said, I don't sidhani kama, he looked at me as if he didn't trust me. He said, "Kama wewe ni kijana ya Kwatenge." Kwatenge alikuwa wapi 1972? I told him alikuwa OCPD wa JIA. Said, hata naona unafanana na yeye. Then he changed. He changed. From being an angel, he became a devil. Ni kijana, ile kunifuta babako angenifuta. Mimi haki ya Mungu wallahi bilahi hautatoka hapa Kiganjo. You'll have it rough. And this is a threat that he carried. I can tell you, I can assure you that I'll say it elsewhere at a later date because this is already a long video, but he really harassed me in the 6 months that I was there. Then I came out of that place. Then we continued with picking the grass and taking it to there until evening when we ate and went to sleep. When we slept, the following day we went to junior training wing where we had been given blankets the previous 2 nights. It was on Monday morning, and we had been given those blankets and mattress. I didn't say bed sheet, I said blanket and mattress. Bed sheet we were later given a few days later. We were given different bed sheets depending on the class you are in. This was also to prevent people taking bed sheets from other classes. Suppose like we in squad 1, I was in squad 1, would be, let's say, be given green. Squad 2 would be given blue, such, and another one would be given pink, so that it was to identify you with your squad. I hope you understand. But we were not given on the first day. First few days we used to. So on Monday, the 3rd day, I said, Give me 2 days, I've already covered the 25th, I've covered 26th, I've covered the main 27th, I've covered Sunday 28th, and Monday 29th. We went to junior training week, where we were each taken around 30. 30 were each allocated to each classroom, and we were given our class teacher. Class teacher was called class instructor. But different from schools, we had 2 different types of teachers. There was the class instructor who was an inspector, and we had class NCO. But because the Kiganjo had more people than required, instead of having one NCO, we had 4 NCOs. We had 4 NCOs. We had Corporal Bagwasi, Corporal Wasike, we had Sergeant Kimeto, and we had Sergeant Mutuku. Mutuku used to treat me like his son, because he used to tell, even Sergeant Bolu, the one whom I said he was an albino, used to treat me as their son, because they used to work with my father when all of them were constables. So finally, I can say that after being allocated class, we started classes like any other school. Our class teacher was called Inspector Elijah Kisanga wa Katulu. Katulu in Kikamba is squirrel. Elijah Kisanga wa Katulu. We had 2 sergeants, as I said. We had Sergeant Mutuku, and we had Sergeant Kimeto. Corporals, we had Corporal Bagwasi. Bagwasi was a Mukuria by tribe. And we had Corporal Wasike Ebukusu. Thank you.